Hello, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Travis. This is Oscar Mike Radio number 215. And today, if you're watching this, it's November 12th, and I have a special Veterans Day show or Remembrance Day. We're going to talk about that because I'm pleased to be joined with Kev, or Kevin, he prefers Kev Breen, who's officially my first foreign veteran guest on Oscar Mike Radio from the United Kingdom. Kev, welcome to Oscar Mike Radio. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me. It's always good to talk to a fellow vet, and especially on a day that's going to be Remembrance and Pop Day. So, more than happy to be here.
This is great. Really kind of interesting how we met. I had posted a couple of my shows on LinkedIn, and lo and behold, I got a message from one of your colleagues in the U.S. saying, "Hey, it's a really cool idea. What do you think about coming on the show, talk about veterans?" And here we are. And like I ask all my fellow veterans is, if you would, especially for us Americans, kind of tell us about your military service. It'd be very interesting.
Yeah, sure. So, my dad was military before me, so that I'm definitely informed some of my decision. But as a kid, I was like 16 or 17. I was at school. I was finishing off school, looking like, what do I want to do next? Do I want to go to university? Do I want to go into a job? And I was like, my dad's got some great stories about being in the military. Like, he loved serving his country, and I moved around with him, and I remembered fondly some of those years. So I was like, why not? So I went down to the career center, and I was originally going in to do something called avionics technician. I wanted to go in and get skilled. So I wanted to not just be running around shooting people, which arguably some people find fun, but I was interested in like the trade side of the military. And I went down and I did something the military in the UK called the BARB test. So this is a psychometric test, like tell me what I'm good at. And I don't know whether it was because they just wanted to recruit people into the signals, and they had a quota to hit, but he said that I'd be well suited to join in the Royal Corps of Signals.
He told you the truth about that? He didn't.
I mean, I don't know, but like he did. I went and I got my results from the test. I went back and spoke to my dad. My dad was actually Royal Signals ahead of me, so talked it out with my dad. He said it's great. Like, he told me all about the things I could kind of expect in that specific corps, and that's what I did. 2001, I signed on that dotted line, and my service started not long after. And so I joined as a radio technician. So I'd always been interested in computers and IT and tech and electronics. So that's where I wanted to go and get my skills. And the first 12 weeks of basic training were hell. Like, I look back now and think, like, I look back fondly on them now, but like during the time they were a brutal 12 weeks. Like, putting that discipline in, like working with each other. There's some early mornings, there's some late nights. And then after that, things got a bit easier. I went to trade school, which for me was a year.
Okay.
And they taught me electronics, they taught me radio systems, and specifically military radio systems, how to use them, operate, repair them. And then, like, so I served just over 15 years total. And
Oh, wow.
so I kind of went from like radio repair into communications, trunk comms, sat comms. From there, I went into networking. I don't know how it is in the US, but in the UK, you tend to move around like every 2 or 3 years.
Right.
You get posted to a different unit, pick up different skills, learn different things. So over the course of my years, I found myself in Germany and different parts of the UK, and yeah. So in my final years, I'd gone through some technical skills, and I kind of fell into cyber. So I was at a unit, and we were specializing in some trunk comms and some networking, which we would deploy out in the case of ECBRN, so chemical, biological, radiological attacks.
Oh, wow.
We would deploy that communications to enable the gold commands, the silver commands of like the police force, the fire services, the EOD, the ordnance disposal. So we would build the communication network, the secure military network that they would talk over. And that's where I kind of started to pick up some more cyber skills. And then from there, I went over to the Joint Cyber Unit in Corsham, which is where I really developed some cyber skills,
Nice.
specializing in malware reverse engineering, packet capture analysis, and some really deep tech. This is also where I met my wife.
Outstanding.
Yeah, just like I always call it a funny story, but when I first moved to the unit, obviously I lived my life online at these points. I was deep into gaming and all sorts, and it was going to take them 2 or 3 weeks to install my internet. So I was like, well, what do I do? It's like, do I go out into the real world? Which I did. And that's where I met my wife. Within those first couple of weeks of being at that unit, I met Emma. And then we got married, and we started to settle down. And then the military being the military, they're like, hey, your 3 years is nearly up. It's nearly time to send you packing somewhere else. So we sat down, we talked it out, and I took the ultimate decision to end my service, which was a difficult decision. It was an easy decision. Like, obviously I just met my wife. I didn't want to uproot her, and and then I've been out now for it was 2014, I think I left. So I've been out a few years now.
So what was it like transitioning for us in the US? It can be a very arduous process. And they've gotten better with transitioning out from the military side to the civilian side, but there's still challenges. How's it like for soldiers in the UK?
Terrifying. It's a 12-month process. So
What?
So I was in the army. Obviously, there are in the UK. There's 3 services. You've got Army, Air Force, and Navy, and they all are slightly different. But being in the army, it was 12 months notice. So I say I want to leave, and they go, sure. 12 months time, you can be gone. And I mean, if you go to any employer and say, I want a job, and they go, great, when do you want to start? It's like 12 months. They're like, yeah, okay, come back to us closer to the time. So you have this whole period of transition where, like, I know I'm leaving, but I can't plan anything. I don't know where that job's going to be, so I can't look at housing. I don't know any of that. So those first few months, as it starts to settle in and dawn on me that I can't get a job yet, which means I can't get housing yet, terrifying. The military, they have career transition workshops, and
Right.
The military are quite good with their service leavers. So you get learning credits, which you can apply to do some trade skills or some technical skills. They send you on courses, they'll fund those for you. And depending on how long you've served, they will give you more of that. So I think I ended up with a few £1,000s worth of courses and about 30 days worth of time that they said, you can take that on top of your leave and you can use that to go and do any training you want. So they are reasonably good, and they like I said, they ran workshops helping me write CVs and all that kind of stuff. But it's just that 12-month period is quite a killer.
So you transition out, and you're definitely moving into civilian life. How did you get into I don't know, did you get into a different job before this one, or how did that work?
So like I said, I was quite fortunate. So I'd already traded in some technology skills, and specifically in cybersecurity skills. And there's a massive skills gap in these areas, and everybody who's going into cyber knows that there are more jobs than there are people. So I was reasonably fortunate, and I actually ended up going to a defense contractor before I joined Immersive. Did my interviews, handed my CVs out, and settled on a company that was reasonably local to me, that I could commute to easily. And they had some really good options. And because they were a defense contractor, they had some military personnel already there,
Right.
which meant that it was going into a more familiar environment. So it wasn't quite going into, hey, you're not in the army anymore. There were some vets alongside me who could help me. But that transition itself, going from the military has a very special way of doing things. Discipline
Absolutely.
is incredibly high.
Yep.
And I think that's the thing I found the most challenging is like just turning around to somebody and saying, hey, I need this thing doing. And they're like, yep, sure, not a problem. And then a couple of hours later, you go, hey, have you done that thing? You're like, no. It's like, what do you mean no? It's like, I didn't realize you wanted to do it doing right now. It's like, well, yeah. And then like turning up to meetings on time, like the military is very much like
Isn't
you're
that
there like
something? Isn't
5
that
minutes
something? Right. Isn't that something, Kev? You're like, you're late. Okay,
Yeah,
so I'm
they
not the
just
only
wander
one.
into the meeting room like cup of coffee. Sorry, I was just getting a cup of coffee. It's like I've been sat here for 5 minutes waiting for you. So I think
Sure.
those were the hardest things for me to adjust to. I think are still the hardest things for me to adjust to now.
I feel it. I feel it. So you go with this defense contractor and you start, getting used to civilian life, and then you this fairly new company, not new, but not like Microsoft, is Immersive Labs. How did that come to fruition?
So when I left the military, so I was a blue teamer, so I was heavily into the defensive side of cybersecurity. And as I was at Leonardo, which is the company I was there, I started to learn some offensive techniques, and I started getting into capture the flag challenges, and it was fun. I was really enjoying it. And then I'd been there for about 2 years, starting to get the 2 year itch. Like the military 3 year moving thing was still a thing that was into me. So it's like I'm starting to like just feel like this is just the norm. So I was like, what's my next challenge? Like, where do I go to next? So I wasn't really looking, but I was just like looking to see if anything interesting popped up, and I saw this advert for somebody to come and join Immersive Labs in Bristol, building Capture the Flag challenges. And I was like, I love Capture the Flag challenges. Like, I loved playing them. And I wanted to learn these skills. So I went down and met James Hadley, who is the founder and CEO of Immersive Labs. And this was in like October, November time. So like late into the season, and I just immediately fell in love with what James was building and what he was putting together. So it wasn't a massively difficult decision for me. 3 months later, I found myself I think it was employee number 8 at Immersive Labs. So it was still very much a startup. And again, this was terrifying for me. The military for 15 years, where job security is like super high, to go into a defense contractor where like life was arguably easy, and it's like there's loads of job security there because there's a skill shortage and they're not going to start getting rid of people, to finding myself interviewing in a shipping container that had a couple of glass doors on the front, with a couple of wooden tables with like 3 or 4 other people. It's like, what have I kind of got myself into here? Like luckily my wife is very, very supportive, and she was like she could see that I was looking for something new, for some challenge, and said, this is going to challenge you. She said, like, if it doesn't work out, then like I'm fortunate that I've got some skills I can fall back on. So I can always like look for other work. She said, so I'd rather you do this. I'd rather you take the risk than be unhappy. So I did, and it'll be 3 years in January, and like I don't regret a single second of joining James so early in the company's life.
So where it got interesting, ladies and gentlemen, is I like Kev, work in cybersecurity, and I'm always getting bombarded with people who, we'll get into what Immersive Labs does here in a second, but I'm always getting bombarded by people who do what you all do, and I get annoyed because I'm like, that's not how you can sit there and you got to get experience to do what we do. And ladies and gentlemen, you remember that Kev said that he's like here, cyber is a hard job to fill. Just for some perspective, Kevin, sorry, Kev. He prefers Kev, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm reading about cybersecurity in the UK, and I was staggered by this number. This is from Computer World. I'll have a link to it in the post, but it says that by 2022, there will be around 100,000 unfilled cybersecurity jobs in the United Kingdom. That's just the United Kingdom. And they put it on a couple of different conditions. And the primary one is simply people can't get trained fast enough to fill the jobs, or can't get their experience level to get into the entry level jobs. Would you say that's an accurate?
Yeah, like, it definitely is. Like we see it all the time. It's very much like chicken and the egg. And some companies will be like, we want, like, so, I've seen some job adverts and they're asking for unrealistic kind of expectations
Right.
in some of their jobs. Like, you need 12 years worth of experience. Like cyber arguably isn't 12 years old, like when
Thank
we
you.
look at it. So
enter Immersive Labs. Now this is where, and I've been waiting to get to this part. Tell us what you all do, because it's really like different from the normal product offering. I'm sorry, I just want you to get to it, because I took it for a test drive and I'm like, wow.
yeah, so I mean, I'll give you, so like I said, James Hadley, the CEO and founder. So I'll give you a little bit of his backstory on like how the company came to be. So he was a former instructor for GCHQ.
Okay.
So that's the equivalent of like maybe the NSA and stuff in here in the UK. So he used to teach their summer school. So like students and teenagers, he used to teach them cyber skills. And he used to teach them like the same way that everybody did, like classroom-based training. Like, here's some PowerPoint, here's some books, like here's a, and he was like, there's just got to be a better way. Like, practical skills is what it's all about. Like, wonderful, you can spend like a couple of years at university, you can come out with your cyber degree, but like, can you actually apply that? And like, I'm not like, there are people who've gone and put degrees in, and like, I'm not underestimating the amount of work they put in, but it's like practical skills accounts for so much more. So James was like, there must be a better way of doing this. So he started to build Immersive Labs. And what Immersive Labs is exactly that. It's practical skills based like workloads. So like, we'll drop you into an environment and we'll give you a real environment and say, hey, go and prove you can do this thing. And we'll give you the information you need to go and complete it. But it's all very practical, very hands-on, like very experience driven. And I think that's what I really fell in love with, because I've done my fair share of SANS courses and certified ethical hacker. And like, I mean, yeah, they're expensive. Like, I really enjoyed the SANS experience. So going to the course and meeting people who were practitioners in the field, that whole corridor con kind of vibe. But arguably the training material when you go on these courses is already out of date by the time you get there. So I immediately fell in love with this, like staying incredibly up to date, just practical all the way. And that's what Immersive Labs offers as its core product.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, and then this is what I run into is I run into, potential candidates who are, on paper, much more educated than myself. But I'm like, well, tell me how to net use from a server to another server, and they have no idea how to do that. And they can't look at the server log and tell me why, what kind of logon that is, for example, or explain to me how a SQL injection works. And they can rattle off the top of their head, but when you look at static code, they can't do it. And so it becomes extremely frustrating. And then to train them or train your teams and staff is a very difficult process. And it seems like you guys have narrowed that gap a lot.
Yeah, and it's all about like driving specific behaviors. So like, we don't care if you can tell me what port HTTPS is running on. Like, that's a Google. That's the thing you can Google. What I care about is, can you effectively Google that answer? Like, it's that research methodology. It's like I want you to get to point B. I literally don't care how you get there. All I want is that you can apply method, you can apply some learning, you can apply the techniques, the skills you've got, and work your way and navigate your way all the way to the end. And that's what our content really drives people towards. It's that I'm not going to tell you this is the only tool and the 4 commands that you can copy and paste out of this book to get the answer. Like, I want you to tell me how to net use onto this server. Here's a server. Here's another server with a command line. Go and figure it out. Like, read the man pages, like figure that out. And just that act of doing, that act of research, that act of like lateral thought, like for me and like arguably for a lot of people in cyber, that's how we learn. That's that act of doing, that repetition of actually doing stuff rather than just copying and pasting something from a book.
So can I ask a favor, Kev?
Of course.
I'm sitting here on pins and needles. Is there a way you could like give us a little taste of what this thing can do?
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, folks, I'm way excited about this, probably more than I should be, but I don't care because you don't understand the challenge. The struggle is real. And when you see this thing fire up, if you're in our shoes, you're going to nod your head and be like, I think I found the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. I'm just that excited. So I can't wait, Kev. You're going to see how this thing works.
Cool. Just need to.
I need to make him presenter. I'm going to make him the host right now. We're doing all this live, folks, right now. This is awesome.
Okay, let me grab the right thing to share.
This is also a first for Oscar Mike Radio, Kev. I mean, just a live in. Oh, look at this.
So this is a nice empty dashboard. But so when you get dropped in, you'll see. So we apply this gamification to the platforms, like driving engagement. Like we want to keep people interested. We want to keep people coming back. So leaderboards, so you can see how you're comparing to other people, like streaks and all that kind of stuff. And I suppose like the meat of what we got. So I think at most labs we have about 1,000 labs in total.
Wow.
And we write more. I run a team of about 24 engineers, and we're building stuff out all the time. So if I just jump into something, so Linux command line. So Immersive Labs isn't elitist. Like this isn't just for those who have spent like a decade in cyber. Like this is all about enabling people to build those skills, like all the way from the ground up. So if we take a look at something like moving around, so this is one of our introduction to Linux labs. Linux is a core part of cybersecurity if you're doing like offensive stuff and arguably defensive tools as well. You need to know how to navigate around a command line.
Yep.
And then, like I said, what we do here is we're actually going to drop you into a real environment. And there's no shared infrastructure here, so you're not going to find like 20 other students in here with you. We're going to give you a nice, clean virtual machine that's just for you. And as you can see in here, like there's no emulation here. There's like, we're not pretending, like this is the real Linux environment. And then this one, we have some learning objectives. We've got some learning outcomes. So we're going to give you just enough information to get you going. So like, this is how you construct a command line. This is how you add arguments. This is how you cat a file. But nowhere in here are you going to find the exact thing to copy and paste.
This is what I love. I mean, when your colleague and before we got on this show and you showed me, I'm like, this is just like how I learned DOS back in the day. Was, trial and error, having to find answers way before there wasn't even dial-up internet back in the day, right, Kev? You just had to figure it out. But this reminds me of how I learned DOS. This is fantastic.
Yeah, so like every question is designed to elicit a learning thing. So like, can you navigate directories? Can you read files? Can you find hidden files? And the answers to these questions, you can only get them by completing the lab. Like you're not going to be able to Google these answers. They're not searchable. Like you have to go and do the thing.
You mean I can't just like, have a split screen and be that's gone? You've taken that away?
Yeah. So like you have to go through this. Like the only way you can pass this is by actually doing these things. So let's see if I can embarrass myself by not completing the easiest of labs. So hidden files. So like the A file will show, the A flag will show me that. .cb75, and then cat dot. Oh.
Your Linux is better than mine, by the way.
2736. Oh,
Oh,
almost. And so in that I got that wrong. But that raises the thing, like, you got it wrong. So what? Like, we're not going to penalize you. We're not going to start subtracting points from you by doing this. Like, this is all about like learning. And I'm not going to lie, I've learned the most by getting stuff wrong, smashing my face into a keyboard and going like, why won't you work?
Yes, yes.
And then the elation of finally getting that thing, solving it for myself.
This is like a Call of Duty game when you get done with it, right? You got the you got the achievement, or like Xbox game. Okay, I like this.
Yeah, exactly. So like we're really driving those behaviors. Like we want you to be coming back. So that's a really like for me, it's an introductory level lab. We've got stuff on a wide range of skills. So whether you're wanting to learn PowerShell, Snort, like packet analysis, we've got things for all of these. And they're not just Linux containers. We've got labs for Windows. We can drop you into a Windows environment, give you some real malware. It's like if you've never seen WannaCry and you actually want to get your hands on and play with it, like reverse engineer it, see how it works, we can do that for you as well. So
Kev, I'm in cyber heaven right now. I could totally just spend hours geeking out over this. This looks like a Kali or Ubuntu build.
Yeah, so this is a desktop build that we use to do our Wireshark analysis. So
there's Wireshark.
And the thing here is that there's a lot of places where it's like, great, now all I need you to do is just download all these files. Great, there goes my AV deleting all the files. I need you to install all these tools. I need you to have these specific requirements.
We're going to elevate privileges then, right?
We take all of that for you. So the only thing you need to access our labs is a modern browser. So Chrome, Firefox, Edge, like Windows, Linux, Mac, like doesn't matter. Just open a browser, get to here, jump into these labs and start learning straight away. It's like reducing those barriers of entry for people who are like impassioned to learn. That's a key driver for the way we deliver this. It would be really easy for us to go, here, here's a PCAPs, here's questions, like download Wireshark yourself. But actually, let's make it safe for you. Let's give you everything you need and give you the best possible chance so that you're getting straight to the heart of the learning. You're not fighting with like, how do I set up these VMs? I need VMware Player. I need commercial software like Burp, and like, just let's do all that hard work for you so you can get right to the meat of it.
That's awesome. I'm loving this.
Thank you.
Well, no, I mean, because when I say elevate privileges, if I need to download Burp Suite, for example, I've got to either be an administrator, right, or have a technician allow me to run with elevated privileges. And so if I can download it, which content filtering blocks, then two, being able to run executable on my local workstation, which is blocked, which to me is good practice, but it's frustrating when you can't just jump right into the class. And it just seems like, from my experience looking at this platform with you and Peter, that has in fact been taken away. This is amazing.
Yeah, and so one of the things that we've done, I say recently, it's been over a year now, so we've mapped to NIST NICE. So
really?
NIST NICE is all about like job roles and the required skills for each of those job roles. So it's mapping cyber skills to cyber roles. So we've done the same thing. Like we've taken our content and we've gone like, where does it align to these NIST NICE roles? It's like, great. Like if you want to be a tier 1 SOC analyst or a junior pen tester, like these are the skills. So we've created those objectives, and you can come here. You can like have a look at this SOC tier 1 analyst. We can see exactly what's here. So there's just under 8 hours worth of training. I'm 2% of the way through this one, but here's a load of skills and a load of practical techniques and experience that I can pick up. And I suppose we'll talk about the academy shortly, but to the point you said earlier about how you've got people who have like gone and they've done degrees and they've sat courses, but do you know if they can do the job or not? So we wanted to take that premise and go, well, we can tell you now. So we introduced this idea of a jobs board. but it's a difference with the job board. So you can see, so we've got a job listed for somebody to come and join us as a principal content engineer. So there's the job requirements, but here's a list of practical labs, and that apply button doesn't work until you've completed all of those labs, at which point you've proven that you've got those technical skills. So like, I'm removing all of that bias. So I don't care about you as a person, I care about you as your skill set. This allows you to prove and demonstrate those skills, put your application in, and then we can go, great, like you meet, like you can do that job, like you by passing these exams you can do that job. So it removes that, a lot of that cognizant bias.
That is a very different approach, but it makes sense. I mean, I want to see if you can, do the function that you're actually say you can do, and this validates it. So this even has, does this have applications for onboarding as well?
Yeah, you could do, like, so we use our platform internally. So when we're onboarding new staff, we've got a load of like internal training material, we've got a load of internal policies. They're all delivered via our platform. So that when people join up, they go through this process, and it helps familiarize them with our product, but also gives them the stuff they need in a slightly more fun and engaging way than just reading through 100 PDFs on a SharePoint site somewhere.
Well, one of the things being like a CISSP or having any kind of, industry accepted certification is the continuing education credits. So if I take classes here, can those apply toward proving that you've met your train requirements for the year?
So yes and no.
Okay.
So at the minute, you can come to my profile and I can generate a report, and I can download this activity report, and that will give me a breakdown of all the things I've done and how many points I've earned. So at the minute, in order to register for CPEs, you need to have the time involved.
Right.
And we're doing a piece of work right now, which is adding the time taken into this report. So you can absolutely use these for continuous professional education. You can complete, so I think it's 1 point, I think our category is 1 point for every hour that you've spent on the platform. So you can see that SOC Tier 1 analyst was 8 hours. So you'll be able to get yourself 8 CPE credits by completing that objective on our course. And we'll give you the PDF report to be able to download and trade that in for your CPE credits. So yeah, absolutely. Like enabling that for our users is key.
So it's a real value add, not only for a company, but also for the practitioner to, attest to what they've done. Man, this is just, wish we had all day to look at this. Well, yeah. So is there an academy? You mentioned an academy function. I just want to make sure I didn't miss that.
Yeah. So obviously, Immersive Labs is a commercial product. Like we're in this to make money, and we sell this to our clients. But we also recognize that there are groups of people that would benefit from free access to some of our content. So we created what we call our digital cyber academies. And the first academy we created was our digital cyber academy for students. So if you're in full-time education anywhere in the UK, and this actually applies to the US as well. So if you're in full-time education in the US with a university email address, you can get free access to a portion of Immersive Labs.
Oh, wow.
So like we wanted to like enable that for people who were trying to come up and learn this stuff. And then shortly after we launched the Digital Cyber Academy, I was talking to James, we were talking about like how we could extend on that. And like a veteran cyber academy for military vets was just the next logical conclusion. Like I've been through this pain myself. And James, he's not military, but he's got that civil servant background. So he's seen some of this as well. He's worked with people in that industry. And obviously like vets, arguably like we're more disciplined. Like we've got a lot more experience, and we're used to like working in some tough, high pressure situations. And like, I'm not going to lie, working in cyber, sometimes it can get quite high stress.
Just a bit.
And we've seen like lots of people like struggle to transition. and we wanted to do something to help. So we opened the Veteran Cyber Academy, and we actually partnered with a UK company called Tech Vets. We partnered with them. We gave them a few thousand licenses in a couple of different tranches, and said like we want to enable vets who are transitioning, who are in that process of leaving and wanting to get into cyber, but maybe they don't have all those background, they don't have all those skills, and they don't have 2 years to go to university to learn them skills. Then we can come here, and we got sponsored jobs from some large high-profile companies who would come in and say like, so we have a thing called the Military Covenant in the UK. You sign up to the Military Covenant to say that you're actively going to be recruiting veterans and things like that. So we got some jobs for people who would go onto our jobs board.
That's amazing.
And then, like I said, we gave a few thousand licenses out to tech vets and said, you got vets who are transitioning, because they had that relationship with the military already. So it's like, if you've got vets that are transitioning and they want to get into cyber, give them a coupon code. That gives them, I think there's almost 200 cyber skills, all mapped to nice job roles specific to cyber careers. Like, give them out. Like, it's all free. There's no strings attached.
All right, so let's quit sharing your screen and get back to normal mode. I want to follow up on that because that's fantastic. So what? Now this is, if I understand correctly, though, just to caveat this is available to veterans in the United Kingdom only right now.
Yeah. So, sadly, so it does obviously come at a cost to us. So we do have companies that sponsor the academies, and they absorb that cost, and we partner with them. Yeah, sadly, at the moment, it is only available to vets in the UK. We always look at ways we can extend that out into other territories. We're heavily expanding our offering into the US. But sadly, at the minute, it is just UK veterans.
Well, I mean, sadly, yeah, but on a good way, it's just really interesting to me because, one of the things in veterans advocacy in the U.S. is talked about is how can companies, advocate for veterans. I hear that a lot from CEOs and business owners is like, I don't run like a private defense contracting firm. I'm not into any kind of military, business. How can I do this? And, I've got to say, it almost seems like you, by virtue of your service and your experience, you were able to help build this. So yeah, it's for the UK right now, but it's also an example that it can work. And, I'm just going to follow up with this question is, what's it like when you have one of your fellow, countrymen, one of your fellow veterans use the platform and get those skills? Have you had somebody come back and say, hey, I was a veteran. I may not have been in cybersecurity, may not have done this, but I used your platform and was able to get that job, a job that's needed.
Yeah, no, it's like, for me, it's great. And I've had people that have gone through that process. And I still have people that are going through that process. So a friend of mine that I used to serve with, he'd always been interested in tech, but he was a physical training instructor. And that's what he did in the military. Like, he was running me ragged round trees and fields for several hours a day. That's what he loved. That's the bit he loved. So, and obviously, like, COVID-19 is a thing we're all struggling with, and like, people who are like personal trainers at gyms, like, they're struggling in times like this. And he'd always had a keen interest in tech. So he's now starting to look at how we can transition, not necessarily into cyber, but maybe into a more technical role. And like, our platform, like, whilst it is like mainly towards cybersecurity, we're still teaching core networking concepts.
Yep.
And like things like of that nature. So he's now actively using our Veterans Academy. He's upskilling, and like, he's loving it. And I don't doubt he's not too far away from having the confidence in his own skill set to be able to go and start applying for some technical jobs. So yeah, no, it's like, it's really heartwarming. Like, when you hear these stories, it's like, that's a thing that, like, the company that I work for hasn't able to happen. So for me, like, super proud to be working in a company that has that kind of motivation, that continues to to offer this, knowing that this thing just costs us money to run, but we're still willing to always have it there. And it's been there for, like I said, I've been with the company for 3 years. This launched within the first year of me joining, so it's been up for a few years, and with all things being equal, it'll be there for a few more years yet.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think the thing that resonates with me is, sometimes, me and my fellow countrymen forget there's a big world out there. I mean, it's well, the United States is a big place, but it's really, heartening to hear that, hey, people in other services, other countries, go through the same transition challenges that we go through. And then to learn that a company like yours decided from pretty much from what I'm hearing, day one, to do this for veterans, means that there's other people out there, not just in the U.S., not just, in my state, who understand the value that we provide. And that's kind of the cool thing right now, Kev, is, we are both veterans, but we both understand the challenges. How can a veteran in the United Kingdom, and educate me here, because I'm going to maybe show my ignorance. But when I think of the United Kingdom, I think of, Great Britain, Scotland, and Wales, and it's not Ireland. Ireland's its own country.
Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland. So those territories are part of the United Kingdom. Did I miss one?
England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales.
I was like pretty much right then. All right. Okay. So if you're a veteran that served in those areas, how do you get in contact with Immersive Labs? What's the process?
So the easiest way to get there is one of two ways. Like I said, we've partnered with a company called Tech Vets.
Tech Vets. Okay.
So if you go to Tech Vets, or if you go to vets.immersivelabs.online, you'll find the details there. So vets.immersivelabs.online. They'll tell you what the academy is. They'll tell you how to get in contact either with us or with Tech Vets.
Awesome.
But that's the best way to get hold of us.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll have the links. You're going to see some of the links scroll down here below us during the show, and you're going to have the links in the post everywhere when this drops. You'll notice, Kevin, that I had on for this conversation the poppy, and we're dropping this technically on November 12th, which is after Veterans Remembrance Day. But a lot of people don't understand what the poppy means to people who serve, especially in United Kingdom. This is a day of remembrance for you and me, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And the poppy is a key component of the Remembrance Day, like ceremonies and festivals for us here in the UK. It's almost like the centerpiece. It's that one symbol that brings everybody together in that act of remembrance. So yeah, the poppy is really important for us on this day.
It was really huge to me, because I'm like, oh my God, we're this worked out to where we're doing this for Veterans / Remembrance Day, and I've met some people in downtown Boston who had the poppy on, and I shook their hand, and it's a time where for a lot of veterans, and I'm sure in the UK, where COVID-19's had an adverse effect on them from being isolated and being through this. Has that affected anybody over there that at all?
Yeah, I mean, there's I've been very fortunate that I've had a really good military experiences, but obviously we know that there are people who have had some really bad experiences, either in combat zones or just in the nature of the work they do. And those people need support. So we're talking like post-traumatic stress and other mental illnesses. Like COVID-19 has impacted them significantly. Like that isolation, that not being able to get to the support networks they need, has been brutal. But and the poppy appeals and things like that, they raise money for that kind of awareness. And we've already seen here in the UK that so one of the ways that they do this every year is they're veterans are out on the street, they're selling poppies, and they're raising money, and all that money goes into these kinds of appeals. And because there's less traffic on the streets, because there are less people willing to go up, I think we're definitely going to see that they're going to get hit a little bit harder. That money that they bring in every year to help veterans is going to be a little bit smaller this year. So, I mean, I've already started seeing initiatives coming up to try and drive that forward. It's not all about money. Like, it's like the act of remembrance, like remembering those who paved the way for us, like who gave us the world, the freedoms that we take for granted today. Like it's our fathers and our fathers' fathers that gave this for us. So, like, regardless, I think it's really key to remember those.
Well, it's just been a really special time talking with Kev Breen from Immersive Labs. Folks, he's an Iron Maiden fan too, which is just, yes, check that box. Absolutely, absolutely. I'm going to have all the contact information for Immersive Labs, for tech vets and the programs in the post. So if you serve your country in the United Kingdom and you're looking to get into this field that is definitely needed, you can reach out and start learning at your own pace and really get those skills. I want to close, we talked about this, but I want to close out this 212 this way if I can, Kev. You got your glass there, I've got mine. I want to take just a second and raise our glasses to those who came before us and served, just for a second. And, I watched 1917. I've read about World War I. Our countries were enemies at one time, absolutely, but now, the Great Britain is one of our strongest allies. And regardless of that, it's the fact that we both served and we're both trying to advocate for veterans in our own way. And it's just an amazing story. And I want to see you grow. So, as my British colleagues say, cheers, my mate.
Cheers. So I just have one really funny story.
Sure.
Like working with the Americans. So I was either 19 or 20. I don't remember which. In fact, I have the challenge code in front of me. So I was either 19 or 20, and I was on a multinational exercise, and I was the tech liaison to the Americans, and it was my 19th, and I'm a military vet. I'm a squaddy, so I am out and I am drunk, and I am very, very badly drunk on my birthday. And I get back, and my friends who I'm out with decided that the best thing they can do to celebrate my birthday is to remove every hair from my body. And this is in the middle of the exercise, so I wake up like pretty rough, and I was like, eyebrows are gone, hair's gone, like it's, oh my god. And then the next day, I had to go in front of Colonel Randerson, who's a military colonel, and he was who I was liaising to. And I like knock on the door, like walk in, salute. It's like, what happened to you? And I'm like, and then so he turned around and he nicknamed me Chemo Baby Kev, and that unfortunately is what stuck for the entire duration, the next 2 weeks of that exercise. And in the notes that went into the military magazines, it was Corporal Chemo Baby Kev Breen.
Oh my God! Your mates really hooked you up.
Yes, yeah, Colonel Anderson. Like, if you're listening to this, like, thank you for that name. It stuck with me for a little bit of time after that exercise. I'd forgotten about that story until he said that. So. Sorry for the segue, but it was
no. Because that's people. It's part of the thing. People, lots of people don't understand. It is, only in the military would your buddies who will do that to you one day, fight for you the next day, and they don't understand it. But I can totally see that happening, and maybe I'd even help.
I have no doubt. Yeah, it's right. That work hard, play hard attitude in the military is massive. But yeah, it's like,
it's funny how stuff like that sticks, though. Like, of all the things, right, that sticks. I mean, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah. So that was it. Just like, so it was an interesting 2 weeks for sure.
Well, I certainly enjoyed getting to talk with you. I certainly love the platform from a practitioner standpoint myself. and somebody who has to, coordinate training for my team. I love your story, and I hope, you see this and will consider coming back on to talk about how Immersive is moving forward. And again, if you're a veteran who served in the United Kingdom, you're looking to get in cyber, there's 100,000 jobs needed. This is a good place to start because it's given to you as an opportunity to, improve yourself. So Kev, thank you so much for your time. And as we say in Hawk, missile in flight, we're mission in flight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.